Welcome to the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I'm Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and this is the podcast where we explore all things writing, publishing, and the impact of storytelling. In each episode, I'll share insights and strategies to help you navigate the book journey, whether you're writing, publishing, or already an author. Plus, you'll hear from inspiring authors who are using their book to change lives. And if you're passionate about storytelling and ready to make an impact, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. Now let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Smart Publishing Impact Series. I am Renée Lautermilch, Chief Editor at Smart Publishing, and your host for this podcast. Today is a solo episode, and I've decided to do it on the easiest way to write a book, which is, drum roll, what do both of these books that I'm holding up, The Tsunami Effect and Reclaiming Your Authentic Self, have in common? And one of them's pretty good and thick. Actually, they're both pretty good. They're both over 200 pages. What do they both have in common? They were written through audio recording. So that is really the easiest way, in my experience as an editor, a writer, and a publisher, to write a book. Me personally, all of my books have been written through typing, but that's because both of my books had a fair amount of research and things to pull together. So part of it was me storytelling, but a lot of it was me having to pull together different factual information as well. I'm also sort of a typing processor too, but from working with authors, what I've seen is most people are not writers. I'm a writer's writer, so that's why I'm an editor. That's pretty rare. Most people do not want to have to do a lot of writing. I write for a living. So, that's the much harder way, as most people see it, to write a book. And so I'm in the process of writing my third book right now. And I actually recorded my introduction because it was just me sort of recounting a personal journey of mine. And I was like, when am I going to get time to record this thing? And then I had to go on a business trip about 35 minutes from the house. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put my AirPods in. I'm going to pull up voice memo on my phone, and I'm just going to talk into it. And so I did that. I sent the audio recording over to my email. I then used Descript, which is a audio transcription program that has a freemium version all the way up to multiple tiered of purchase versions to transcribe it and scrub it a little bit for ahs and ums and likes, because I do that a lot, because once again, I think better when I have the time to write out versus when I talk. I'm not the best talking thinker because my brain tends to work a little bit slower than my mouth. So I did that, and it was so easy. What would have been 35 unproductive minutes of me just driving in traffic in a car became me essentially writing my introduction chapter. And then once I had that transcription, I was able to edit and shape it up a little bit better from there. So I'm going to go through, now that we've introduced the option of using audio as a writing vehicle, I'm going to go through the process because this is a process that we do with probably about 60% of our authors. They either record on their own and send their audio file in, and I transcribe it, I shape it, I edit it from there and send back for their review as a chapter. Or we actually even have a service where they meet with Jonathan, and Jonathan does a very light interview style with them to draw the stories and the principles out of them, and then kind of coaches them through from there, so that it's literally like a done for you service. They show up once a week. They do that for about 45 minutes, and that's it. And then you look up, and at the end of about 12 weeks, which is approximately 3-ish months, you have an entire manuscript. And then, we'll typically, either have them do the introduction and the conclusion if they feel strongly about it, or we ghostwrite it for them based off of the content and then send their for their review as well. And then we've got a full manuscript and we do the rest and we get on to publishing and boom, you showed up for 40 to 45 minutes a week, one time a week for 12 weeks, and that resulted in a book. So if that doesn't sound easy to you, I can't help you. I can't help you there. That's probably the easiest way that you can write a book. And keep in mind, I've had a lot of questions come into me as well, where it's like, well, it feels like I'm cheating, or it feels like I'm not putting forth the effort. Okay, the majority of the memoirs that you see, the big name memoirs of politicians and celebrities, that was done the exact same way. People have been doing audio recording to create books for years. Years and years and years. This is not a new thing. And it's the way that a lot of books, probably a fair amount of books that you've read, have been written. David Goggins' books are a great example, and I believe there's one of them where if you read it, you can really really tell that it was him just kind of talking into a mic during long runs or something. So, anyways, what's the process? Well, first you got to figure out what you're going to record into, and I would say design this to meet your activity levels. So, if you're somebody who's in the car a lot and you're driving a lot, throw your AirPods in or whatever you use and just use the voice app memo or the voice memo app on your phone. It can do the work. And that way you can turn what is pretty unproductive time spent drained in the car, fighting traffic, commuting, to write your book. So that is a great example of something that works. Also, if you've got Zoom or something like that, Zoom, part of the output is an audio file. If you pay for Loom, which if you don't know Loom is the best. It's this little browser plugin that you can use to quickly pull up and do screen share and record your screen and send it to somebody. It's super useful. I know a few people who have paid versions of that, and when you record a video, even I think on the freemium version, up to I believe 5 minutes, it will transcribe for you, and you can literally like copy and paste the transcription that it creates into like a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document. So those are some ideas of audio options that you can use to record. All that's really required is that it either A, allows you to pull a transcription from it, Otter AI, that's another one, that's an app, or it allows you to pull an MP4 or a WAV audio file from it that you can then put into a transcription service like Rev.com is an example of one. I personally use and prefer Descript because they've got a much better pricing structure for their paid versions. Again, the freemium version's pretty good. If you're not doing a lot of heavy audio transcription, that will probably work for you. And if you do an upgrade, there's some really great upgrade features too that, like I say, allow it to cut out your filler words. If you have two different people talking on the audio, maybe you're co-writing with someone or somebody's interviewing you, you can have it identify both speakers so that it puts a label in the transcription above each person's speaking section, so that if you need to take the interviewer out of that section for editing, it's really easy to visually see it and then erase that section. And then, of course, once you've found your audio platform that you're going to use, the next thing that you need to do before you do anything else is schedule it. Schedule it. If it's not scheduled, it won't happen. It'll keep falling off. You'll keep forgetting to do it. Put it on your calendar. And like I always say, make the time and protect the time. If it's important, it will happen. Prioritize it. If you wouldn't cancel a different meeting, don't cancel that meeting with yourself. That's how books never get written. So definitely set up a time that works for you when your brain is working well, it's low distraction to do it. Put your phone on mute, take the, put it on whatever setting you have. I've got this work setting where it turns off all notifications except for phone calls and text messages because, my daughter's in school. And if something happens, I need that to get through. Probably a lot of parents listening to this would have the same preferences. But now I'm not getting like dinged with every little thing that's distracting me while I'm here with you, focusing on my priority, which is recording this podcast episode for you right now. So now you've got your audio platform, you've made the time and protected the time. Now it's time to record. So when you're recording, I would say, keep a couple things in mind. One, you want to speak just a little bit slower if you're doing it for audio transcription. That way you're not kind of mumbling or jumbling your words together, and the transcription service that you're using doesn't get confused or gets confused as few times as possible. Another is, and this is kind of separate and aside from this, if you know me or you know my content, you know that you should never write a book without a chapter map, okay? So do not just like go into this raw, like I'm just going to do stream of consciousness and blah 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 blah. That's how books that are exhausting to read that nobody ever finishes get written. It's if you're aimless and directionless, your book will come out that way. So make sure that you've done your work to get the chapter map created in the first place, so that when you're coming to record, you're pulling up your chapter map, or if you're doing it in the car, you've at least reviewed your chapter map that morning or before your car ride so that you're fresh on it, because we don't want you looking at things while you're driving, right? At least have the outline fresh in your mind, or what you're going to talk about fresh in your mind, so that you are organized and you are prepared to cohesively and with a good flow go through the content that you're going to share on that audio recording for your transcription. So if you've got a chapter structure where you're going to lead in with a story, you know what story you're going to tell, you know the details and the flow of that story. Then you go into an extracting the lessons learned or a principle section. You know how you're going to do that. You know how that section's going to flow. And then I would say if you have things that are a little bit more nitty gritty, like, 3 tips or 5 tips or, 4 key takeaways, you can use that for post editing, once you're done with the transcription, or you can just kind of make note of that verbally in there. Also, as you are talking, try not to get off on too many side tangent rambles, please. This is coming from an editor now who gets all kinds of audio transcription files. And it's most easy for me when it's just the content in there. When it's somebody talking about like, oh, and that made me think of this. And you know what I'd like to do in the later section of this book? If it doesn't go in the chapter, don't say it, okay? Because then it just becomes this kind of fluffy filler stuff that makes the editing process harder, and it takes you as the person who's recording it off topic and off track, and it disrupts the flow, because then you have to figure out, okay, what was my train of thought? Where was I going through this? And then you have to try to segue back into that without disrupting the flow. Okay, so that's the editing process itself. Once you've edited it, like I said, you can throw it into Descript to transcribe, or if you're working with an editor like myself, you can just send them the audio file and they can do that work. Even if you are transcribing and you want to go through the process of sort of doing like an initial rough draft edit yourself, always have an editor. This is something else that if you follow me and you know my content, I'm going to say I did not edit any one of my books, and I'm an editor, okay? You are too close to your content to be able to see the gaps and to be able to see where maybe your perspective, or you think somebody's going to take something a certain way, or you think somebody's going to understand something a certain way, an outside perspective doesn't understand it that way at all. So it's absolutely crucial, even if you're a really great writer and you know your grammar and stuff, which I'm just going to say, so many people who say that, um I find a lot of different errors in their work. So, like, editors are people who are highly, highly specialized at this stuff. Let them do their job. Do not even think about writing or publishing a book if you're not going to have at least an editor. I would have you self-design your cover on Canva all day over not having an editor, okay? If there is a single most important thing that you have to hire out to do for your book, it is to hire an editor. All right, I'm taking myself off the pulpit now. So once you've got it into, a decent form, even a not decent form, great editors can take mess and make magic of it. Okay, so that's all you do. Then you've handed it off to them. If they are an editor like me who likes to do things proactively and doesn't wait on having a full manuscript, they will edit that chapter and send it back for your review, so that they're editing as you're writing your book concurrently, which means that once you get to the end of writing your book, you pretty much have a finalized manuscript. Probably want to do a final read through it, just to make sure that everything that you want is in there. But you're going to pretty much be done with it at that point, and then it's time to step on to design decisions, like the interior design of your book, the cover design, and then once you get all those files back, now it's publishing setup, launch marketing strategy, and all the fun stuff. You've got a book. So yeah, that's basically all that I have for you today. To write a book, you don't have to technically write it. You can audio record it. That is the easiest way to do it. That is how tons and tons of books that you see out there, especially these autobiographies and memoirs that are all over the place, that's how a really large amount of those get written. And have been written for years and years and years now. Absolutely nothing new. So, if you've ever wanted to write a book and you keep finding yourself saying like, oh my gosh, I don't have the time to do it, remember, it's going to be about no more than 40 minutes a week for 12 weeks to write 12 whole chapters. My goodness, it couldn't be any easier than that. You're farting around on your phone, on social media, and going down YouTube rabbit holes for more than 40 minutes a week, okay? You're doing that for like 40 minutes a day. I know you are. Don't deny it. But last thing I will probably leave off on, that everybody asks questions about: how many pages does 40 minutes come out to? It's about 12 to 13 pages. So that's actually a pretty big chapter too. If you talk for a little bit less than that, somewhere around 20 minutes, you're going to end up at about 6 to 8 pages. That's a pretty good sweet spot. Any less than that, I've seen ones as low as between 4 to 5 minutes. Those are only about 2 to 3 pages. So I encourage you, if you're doing it, have a minimum of 20 minutes and probably around a maximum of 40 minutes for a really good sweet spot, to where you'll have enough content for a full length book that will have enough breadth in the final formatted version to have a readable spine. All right. So, with all this being said, that is everything that I have for today. So, I hope that some of you listening out there have been inspired to make it happen. And remember, it doesn't happen unless you put it on the schedule and you make and protect the time. And you should do that, because keep writing your story. The world needs your voice, and the world won't get your voice if you don't make the time and protect the time and make it a priority. All right. Until next time, hit that subscribe button. Please take 60 seconds to rate and review as well. And tell a friend about this podcast. I'll be so, so, so appreciative. And if you haven't connected with me yet on Facebook, look me up, Renée Lautermilch. I'm the only one in the world, so you're not going to pull up anybody else other than me. We also have a smart publishing page on there. Like and follow that page if you can. And you can always get in touch with me through smartpublishingservices.com. Have a good one. Until next time.